Hello, virtual learners. For some reason, the second part of our math video isn't wanting to upload, or Loom, that's what I use to record, isn't wanting to finish downloading the video. So, you should have gotten our place value chart written to your notebook, all the way from 100 billions to thousands. And so we talked about, after this, when we're looking for the place value of a number. So remember, place value, that's the value of each digit in a number. So in this number, 2,309, that 3, it's a 3, but its value is 300 because it's in the hundreds place. That 2, its value is 2,000 because it is in the thousands place. So in the big number we wrote down here in our chart, 9,325,406,810 and 72 hundredths. This 4 that we have here, it's a 4, but its value is 400,000 because it's in the hundred thousands place. So what we're practicing today is writing the value of a digit in a number. Now, like I said, I had recorded this already, and so I already have the answers written underneath 1 through 3. There are actually 6 problems, so why don't you go ahead, pause the video, and get these first 3 numbers written down. What you're going to do is, for each of the numbers that are circled in pink, you're going to write the value of that number depending on what place value it is. So go ahead, pause the video, get these written down, and write down underneath what the value of the circled pink number is. So go ahead, pause your video. All right, my virtual learners, you should have paused your video, written down number 1 through 3, and written the value of the circled pink number underneath each number. So if we look at them, this is what we should have. So for number 1, our 2 is circled. So we would have asked ourselves, okay, what place is the 2 in? Well, we go 10 or ones, tens, hundreds. So the 2 is in the hundreds place. So the value of the 2 is 200. Then for number 2, the 9 is circled. So we'd count, okay, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. So the 9 is in the 100,000s place, which means the 9's value is 900,000. Then we get to number 3. And number 3 may have been a little tricky, but that's why we have our chart written up above so we can look to see what our place values are. When we look at number 3, my virtual learners, we see we have a 1, and that's in the ones place because to the left of our decimal, that is the ones place. And then to the right, directly to the right, that 2, that is in the tenths place. So that 2, its value is 2/10. So to write the value, you could have written just 0.2. Maybe you wrote 0.200, so you replace all the numbers with zeros like we do when we're writing the values of whole numbers. Or you may have written out 2/10, actually written out TENTHS. Now it's important that if you wrote out tenths with words, I also want you to be writing down the 0.2 so that you recognize that 0.2 is also another way to write 2/10. So if you didn't write down 0.2, I'd like you to add that. Then we have 3 more practice problems. So if you went through these 3 and you're like, whoa, Missy, I did not get the same answers as you, maybe now that you have the answers to these first 3, you will better be able to complete number 4, 5, and 6. So go ahead, get number 4, 5, and 6 written down. So again, you are finding the value of the digit that is circled in each number in pink. So go ahead, pause your video, get these written down, and write the value of the circled pink number beneath it. All right, my virtual learners, you should have paused your video, written out numbers 4, 5, and 6, and written the value of the circled pink number underneath each one. So if we look at our answers, number 4, this 9 was circled, so we would have had to count. Now we know that this is the tenths because it's to the right of the decimal. But then we have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. So the 9 is in the thousands place, which means it is worth 9,000. That is its value. Number 5, the 8 was circled. So again, we started our decimal, and we're going to the right this time, not the left. So it would be tenths, hundredths. So the 8 is in the hundredths place, which means its value is 8 hundredths. So you could have written that by making the rest of the numbers 0, 0.08, or you may have written out 8 hundredths. Now, if you wrote out the word hundredths, I also want you to write 0.08 so that you recognize that this way of writing it, 0.08, is the same as writing out 8 hundredths. So I also want you to write the number form if you didn't do that, your standard form. And then we have number 6. So number 6, our 9 was circled. So we started our decimal, we're going to the right. We have our tenths, our hundredths, and our thousandths. So the 9 is in the thousandths place, which means its value is 9 thousandths. So you could have written that as 0.009, or written out 9 and then written thousandths. Again, if you wrote out the word thousandths, awesome, but I also want you to write the 0.009 so that you recognize that both of these terms are for the same number. And if you were having a hard time, like you knew, okay, this is 8 hundredths or this is 9 thousandths, but you're like, where do I put zeros when I'm writing the value? Think of it this way. When we write a whole number, like for number 1, 200, anything to the left we don't include, but anything to the right of the number becomes zeros, right? To make it 200, so 0, 0. Again, number 2, anything to the left we don't include, anything to the right becomes zeros. When we write decimals, it's kind of the opposite. Anything to the left of the ones place, we don't include. So, for example, number 6, our ones place is here, right? This other one, we wouldn't include. We need to have a 0 in the ones place, though, because if you're going to have a decimal, you need to have a digit or a number on either side of it. And then everything else becomes zeros except for the one that you want to keep. So then number 5, our ones place, that's where the 6 is. So then the 7, which is in the tens place, we wouldn't include. So then we'd have 0, and that's already a 0, 8. And here, wouldn't include the first one, but then we'd have 0.009. Number 3, we only have a digit to the left in the ones place, so it would just be 0.2. Now, with the cool thing kind of about decimals is then anything to the right could become zeros, or we can leave it off. But that's up to you. You may have written 0.200, which is the same as 0.2. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we learn more about decimals. But good job today recognizing place values. What I would like you to do for homework is to go and play Prodigy for 20 minutes. And I have it so that you are practicing some problems with decimals and with place value. Have a great rest of your Mondays, virtual learners.